don't really have a relationship to PrEP. I use condoms. I don't really know that much about it. I don't even really know what it stands for, honestly. If I'm taking this drug, people will label me as a whore, or a floozy, a Jezebel. I don't want to speak for the entire community, but I think there's still a stigma surrounding drugs related to HIV. I don't think people really want to get close to it or have anything to do with it. And it's all fear. It's fear of death and fear of being associated with this big bad disease with a little name.
So it's so great to have some of you back. Jay, it's good to have you back in DC. Who have you been doing this time?
Did you play it safe or did you play it some other type of way?
Well, I always have safe first sex.
Okay.
But if you mean did I use condoms, the answer would be no.
Really? Why? Why didn't you use condoms?
Because I'm on PrEP, I think that kind of gives me some latitude to explore my sexual horizons a little differently.
It is pre-exposure prophylaxis. It is the one-a-day pill that you can take to prevent HIV acquisition.
Yeah, unfortunately, like most black gay men, as evidenced, don't really know a whole lot about it. At least
Talking about you.
No.
Well, in your defense, I don't think we've done a good job of providing education to the full community overall. And so it's acknowledging that we do have some work to do, but it is available. You can get it from your physician.
Why don't more black gay men know about it?
I think it's a variety of reasons. It's either we're not having the conversations we need to in our very vulnerable spaces like this, where we can be very candid. I don't like to use condoms, and what does that mean for me? We're not having conversations with our providers as well, and including them in our decision making. So,
Are any of you on it?
So yes, I am on PrEP. I was initially on PEP, which stands for post-exposure prophylaxis. I was on PEP due to a sexual assault, and you're on PEP for 28 days, and at the end of that 28-day period, my doctor came to me and said, maybe you should consider PrEP. When I came to the realization that I know that I don't like to use condoms, I just kind of really decided that PrEP works for me.
I've been on it for 2 or 3 years off and on. PrEP has allowed me to have the sex I want to have. Like, I hate condoms. We won't talk if you talk about condoms. And so now I can fuck how I want to fuck without having to worry about contracting HIV. It's like 90 to 96% effective, upwards of that, if you adhere to it and use it correctly.
I just came to know about it recently, so I haven't really been in the know. And I also come from the school of, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Condoms have worked just fine for me.
and so while I share Charlotte's sentiments, I do also acknowledge that for me, I am in a space where I take my own risk in consideration. So I know what puts me at risk and what doesn't put me at risk. And it also requires a level of adherence. We know it works if you take it. I don't adhere to my blood pressure medicine for having high blood pressure. So here I am going to take a pill for sexual proclivities that I may or may not participate in.
What's your position?
I'm a versatile bottom.
Do you think that like impacts your decision to maybe use PrEP versus condoms, or where you've been at?
Well, being a bottom, I know that
versatile
a versatile bottom, or bottoming per se, I know that it comes with a higher risk. So it does lead me to be really, really staunch and strict about using condoms. But also, just hearing the effectiveness of PrEP, it has pushed me to consider it.
I used to be a full-on bottom in a past life.
The bottom formerly known as...
Formerly known as this, in a former life. But I do know that the CDC has said that there's different types of risk associated with insertive or receptive anal sex. So as a bottom, if you were going to hit, you absolutely were going to strap up, no questions asked.
For you.
For me, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But it's interesting as the recent development of me becoming a top, the very recent development, I came to realize that, wow, like putting on a condom is kind of difficult. Like maintaining an erection with the condom on is kind of difficult. I don't necessarily enjoy it as much.
Why don't black gay men know about it?
Because researchers don't care about black folks.
Okay, Kanye.
Well, I think that it goes beyond that. It's not all researchers. Some researchers may
share that sentiment. I think it's also understanding that Black people just historically have been removed from the conversation.
Yeah.
So when the FDA approved it in 2012, Black people were not presented in those research studies, and it's hard to engage people in clinical trials, especially Black gay men who could utilize this a great deal.
I mean, also, I think we have to talk to ourselves about PrEP. You be cool with the type of sex you have, and then find a doctor to help you navigate that particular system around access to PrEP and getting it. Who's going to deal with the wholeness of who you are and your whole appropriately?
You really said your wholeness.
And
your whole.
Taking care of your whole is very important, dear. I go into my doctor's office and I say, this is the type of sex I'm having. These are how many people I'm having sex with.
he has that much time.
He has all the time in the world for me at that moment.
Well, you are paying.
And because I demand that he
And
has
you
time
pay
for
for
me,
it.
because I pay for it.
It's a service.
It is a service, but I'm just like, this is what it is. I like what I like. I do what I do, and let me tell you that, full disclosure, no lies, and let me be completely honest with you, and then that allows you to give me comprehensive care. That's so very important. If Black gay men can go into a doctor's office and have those types of conversations, I think that a lot of stigma and a lot of the disparities would be alleviated.
But I think even before that, even before we go into the doctor's office and start talking to a doctor, who many of us see as an authority figure, we need to be able to have these open conversations with just our Judies. I can tell y'all about the piece of trade I fucked last night, so I should be able to talk very openly about the kind of sex we actually engaged in.
And
what
not
I
be afraid
enjoy
of
and all
bottom
that stuff.
shaming. And I
Correct.
think that's important because it allows us to have a very candid conversation with one another and increase health literacy. And now you know what PrEP is, and it may be something that could be useful for you. If you have that connection with your provider, it sounds like it was simple for you all. It's many programs that one can participate in. You've got now Affordable Care Act, which is law of the land. So it's about navigating through this complex healthcare delivery system that we have. And that's a whole different conversation from
Wait, everybody here got good jobs.
I didn't have insurance when I got on PrEP.
Really?
I was completely uninsured, and so I had to access PrEP through a local clinic in Texas where I'm from. But
So
now
there
that I
are
do
hurdles.
have insurance through the Affordable Care Act, I'm able to get, copay assistance and assistance with my labs and a whole bunch of other programs to make PrEP free for me. It's not free in general, but to me, there is zero cost with getting my meds.
So do you think that you would consider PrEP now more that we've had this conversation?
Absolutely. I've given it some really serious consideration.
Well, that's amazing, and I think that the major takeaway is that Black gay men should be able to feel empowered when they go into their doctor's office. They should be empowered when they speak with their provider. They should be open and honest about the types of sex that they're having and who they're having sex with, and I feel like if we can do that, then we can really make a difference in the health of Black gay men.
Absolutely.
And to that, I say, cheers.
Salud.
Cheers to the whole.
To the whole.
Oh, yeah.